Hey everybody, RC here. Wanted to talk a little bit about Lightroom and Photoshop and burning of edges because it causes a little bit of a problem. So let's take a look. I'm going to single click on this picture that I took of Jen. Now, I like the picture. I think it's kind of cool, but I kind of want to crop it in and I want to be able to do a little burning of the edges here. So automatically I wind up switching to the Develop tool, and notice I already have lens vignetting set up on this. I'm just going to reset it to show you what the original picture looks like. That's what it looks like. Now I'm going to crank those edges way down, right, so that it focuses right on the center of it. But check out this problem. Burns all of this stuff in, right? That's kind of what I want. And watch what happens. I don't like the composition of this, right? There's a lot of gunk over here. So I'm going to click over here and drag this in. Maybe what I'll do is I'll move this up just a little bit. And like that. And say that I want it like that. Now, all of this burning that happened here, non-existent in my new crop. That causes a problem. Because this is what I want burned in, not necessarily all of this that I'm not even going to see. So when I hit the Enter key, that's my new shot, but even with my lens vignetting cranked up, you don't see that in the image. How do you fix that? Easiest way, just reset your vignetting, leave it as so, and all you have to do is just do a right click and edit in Photoshop CS3. You're going to edit a copy. So you can click on Edit. That's going to make a second copy of this, and it's going to open it inside of Photoshop. Now, when you get to Photoshop, you really don't have to do much of anything. In here, all you have to do is just save and close. Here's your copy, and here's your original. So this is the original, this is the copy. Now watch this. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab my lens vignetting, crank it. Right? You don't see much here, you don't see much here, but here you do. Now if I come over here and I do the same thing, so you see a lot more here and here. Actually, what I can do is I can just command click and just compare these by just hitting the C key. So you get a little bit more. Now, what if you didn't want to do this in Lightroom and you wanted to do it just in Photoshop? What you can do here is just edit the picture out. This one, I'm going to edit the original one because this happens to be the copy that I had just made. And you can do that vignetting right from within Photoshop. To do that, you can go to Filter, and under Filter, you kind of have to look for it because it's a distort. Right? Lens vignetting was something that used to happen to images when you would have a camera and the lens on the camera would wind up burning in the edges. And it used to be kind of the mark of a cheap lens. So Photoshop would have this as a correction to be able to help that. Turns out people use it now as an artistic effect. So if you go to Lens Correction, inside of here, you'll see that, I'm going to uncheck that Show Grid. Here's our vignette. Now you can kind of paint that in without even having to go into Lightroom. You click OK. There's our paint in. Not too bad. Now, another way to do it, you can just undo that. You could come over here and set up your burn tool. And with your burn tool, you can specify whether or not you want to burn shadows, midtones, or highlights, and how much you want to be able to burn it. So this used to be the old-timey way to do it, right? So you can come over here and burn, burn, burn. I'm not a big fan. I'm just going to step backward there a couple times. Another way for me to be able to do it, sometimes I just cheat. I make a copy of this. I'll go to Adjustments. I'll go to Levels. I'll drag this in a little bit, and I'll click OK. Then I'll set up a mask for this, but holding down the Alt key. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'll click here. It inverts it and hides everything. And then just using a regular brush with a color of white, I'll go ahead and I'll reveal some of this. It just kind of lets me control a little bit over what sections I want to burn, because sometimes I like to kind of burn up here and just kind of create that spotlighted effect. So you'll play with that a little bit. Once you wind up having that all set, I've kind of bounced back and forth between Lightroom, Photoshop a couple times, but this is a good way to be able to burn in your edges inside of Photoshop, and it also shows you how to overcome that problem in Lightroom And as soon as you're done, you can just go ahead and save it. And if you're in the first application, then you can obviously stay in Photoshop. But if you come back here, just keep bouncing back and forth, and I'll wind up with something like so.